We are on topic 2, lesson 3, the Assyrian and Persian empires. We are going to go ahead and start by listening to the lesson.
Lesson 3, the Assyrian and Persian empires. Invaders swept into Mesopotamia after Hammurabi's death in 1750 BCE. Hundreds of years passed before the Assyrians, a people of northern Mesopotamia, united the region again. In time, the Assyrian Empire gave way to the powerful Persian Empire.
All right, let's go ahead and watch the video. I'm going to make this full screen so that we can see it better.
To understand the scale of the Assyrian and Persian empires, it's helpful to look at them from a purely geographical viewpoint. This is a map of the Middle East. It shows where the conflicts and conquests that accompanied the rise of the first civilizations occurred. One of the world's first civilizations, Sumer, developed at the south end of the fertile valley between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. While Sumerian culture influenced the entire region, Sumer was relatively small. Then the Babylonians conquered Sumer. The Babylonian Empire was more than double the area of the Sumerian Empire. Still, the Babylonian boundaries, like those of Sumer, did not extend far beyond the banks of the two rivers. The Assyrians were next to rise and conquer. Notice how much the Assyrian Empire grew. It expanded beyond the boundaries of the two rivers that had defined the Sumerian and Babylonian empires, but it never expanded too far from water, always staying within the reach of the coastlines of the Mediterranean Sea, the Persian Gulf, or the banks of the Nile River. How did the Assyrians expand their empire so much? One answer was their military advantages. They had some of the world's first horse-mounted fighters, or cavalry, which made them faster and more mobile than their enemies. They also had iron weapons, which were superior to the bronze weapons used by other people in the region. And the Assyrians had developed what some historians call an ancient superweapon, the chariot. Chariots were a military adaptation of the Sumerian wheeled cart. Chariots carried both a driver and a spearman quickly into battle. The size of the Assyrian Empire at its height was impressive, but it seemed small in comparison to the empire the Persians built. Look closely at the map. Do you see how the Persian Empire differed geographically from the earlier empires? It included vast areas of land that were not near major sources of water. It's not hard to guess the secret to the Persian success. Once again, they had a superior military. The Greek historian Herodotus tells us that the Persian army consisted of more than 1.5 million infantrymen, which included an elite force of 10,000 soldiers known as the Immortals. Of course, the Immortals weren't actually immortal. They only seemed that way to their enemies. You see, whenever one of the Immortals was wounded or killed, he was immediately replaced by another warrior who had been held in reserve. This kept the force at a constant 10,000-man strength and gave enemies the impression that the Assyrian warriors were immortal. Every empire was larger than the one before it. What problems did this create for each empire's rulers?
All right, let's go ahead and look at our vocabulary words. The first word, cavalry. The definition, soldiers who fight while riding horses. Standing army, a permanent army of professional soldiers. That means that was their job. Tribute, payment or gift to a stronger power. Currency, money, something used for exchange. And steel, a grand stone pillar. Go ahead and pause my video and get your 5 vocab words defined in your digital notebook. But then come on back because page 2 is also part of this video. All right, now that you have your 5 words defined in your digital notebook, let's go ahead to that next page. It says click next one time. We're going to be on page 2 in your digital notebook. Click this right arrow so that you can see the words. And let's look at this first question. A cavalry is made up of what? So you're going to see it is in this sentence right here, this circled yellow sentence. Let's go ahead and listen.
How did the Assyrian and Neo-Babylonian empires develop? Assyria lay north of Babylon, along the Tigris River. Like much of Mesopotamia, it fell under the influence of Sumer. Later, Assyria was part of the Akkadian and Babylonian empires. Why was Assyria known as a military state? After Babylonia fell, the Assyrians fought against a steady stream of invaders. Some of them conquered Assyria, but for long periods, the Assyrians stayed free. Assyria's armies included some of the world's earliest cavalry, or soldiers who fight while riding horses. Assyrians used iron weapons and tools, which were stronger than the bronze ones. The Assyrians built up a strong military state by the mid-800s BCE. Within 200 years, they turned that state into an empire. By the mid-600s BCE, the Assyrian Empire stretched north from the Persian Gulf across the entire Fertile Crescent and southwest into Egypt.
Again, the question, a cavalry is made up of what? Your answer is in this circled yellow sentence. Get that now. Let's look at the next question. How did the Assyrians try to solve the problem of ruling a large empire? You'll find that answer in this first paragraph, highlighted in blue. So let's go ahead and listen.
Political order in the empire. Like Sargon and Hammurabi, Assyrian rulers found that controlling a large empire was difficult. The Assyrians divided the empire into about 70 smaller units of government, called provinces. They assigned a governor to each province. Each governor reported directly to the Assyrian ruler. This helped the ruler keep control of distant lands. An Assyrian ruler named Ashurbanipal made the city of Nineveh his capital. There he built a library and filled it with cuneiform tablets. They were mainly texts and letters from Sumer and Babylonia on subjects such as law, literature, mathematics, and science. Some 20,000 of these tablets survive today.
Again, the question, how did the Assyrians try to solve the problem of ruling a large empire? You'll find that answer in this blue highlighted paragraph. Number 3, how did Nebuchadnezzar strengthen Babylon's defenses? You will find that answer in this green highlighted, 3 sentences? So you have 3 sentences here. You'll find the answer to number 3. Let's go ahead and listen.
How was Babylon restored? After Ashurbanipal's death, civil war and enemy attacks weakened the Assyrian Empire. In 604 BCE, Nebuchadnezzar II became king of Babylon. He expanded his power as far west as Egypt. He also captured Jerusalem, destroyed the Jewish temple, and exiled many Jews to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar's empire is known as the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar spent much money building great walls, gates, and temples. His most famous project was the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. The Hanging Gardens were elaborate gardens built on a series of stone terraces.
Again, number 3, how did Nebuchadnezzar strengthen Babylon's defenses? That answer will be in this green highlighted 3 sentences. When you're done with that, why don't you go and check out these Hanging Gardens of Babylon? Type this into Google, Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and look and see what they look like. They are still there today, and they're pretty awesome, if you ask me. So go ahead, get that answer, Google Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and then move on to the next video.